New online safety rules come into force from today, which will require video sharing platforms to have effective age verification systems in place. Sites such as Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok and X will be legally obliged to protect users from harmful content under the Online Safety Code.
The new rules that take effect from today prohibit the uploading and sharing of materials such as cyberbullying, as well as videos promoting self-harm, suicide and eating disorders. Platforms hosting pornographic or violent material must ensure they have effective age verification systems in place. The media regulator, Coimisiún na Meán, says that simply ticking a box or inputting a date of birth is no longer sufficient, but it hasn't told platforms what types of age verification methods it wants them to use.
It has said to them, you decide how you're going to do it, but make sure you produce a robust system of age verification so that children cannot access a material that is harmful to them. So it is a problem that we don't know what they're going to do. If Coimisiún na Meán had said, these are the 10 things you must do, then we'd know what they were.
The types of age verification systems used might include facial recognition, cognitive skills tests, or uploading IDs. Privacy experts, however, have expressed concerns about how this sensitive personal information will be stored.
We know from the UK, where some companies have already started doing this kind of thing in response to a UK law, very similar, that those companies who take in that data and the data about what sites people visit, they're treating it and they're describing it as a commercial asset. So they are treating it as part of their service delivery, they're collecting data. It's a data harvesting system which they've brought in.
From today, Coimisiún na Meán will be supervising platforms to see what age verification measures they have put in place. The regulator has said that the systems used should be robust and privacy respecting. Platforms that breach the rules could face fines of up to €20 million or 10% of their turnover, whichever is greater. Brian O'Donovan, RTE News.
Well, staying with that story, we're joined from Cork by Professor Barry O'Sullivan, Director of the School of Computer Science in UCC, who has also worked on the Digital Age of Consent campaign. Good evening, Professor O'Sullivan. Thanks so much for joining us. First question, before we get into how and whether this will work, is it needed? Because I think there is evidence that children are accessing material that's age not appropriate for their age.
Well, it's absolutely needed, and it's a great day, I think, for the protection of children online. It's not possible really just to rely on asking somebody how old they are. You know, if you're running the security of a door of a nightclub on the basis of just simply asking, you know, are you overage, that wouldn't really wash. It's really important that we have age verification for people online. Absolutely. Okay,
because I see a survey by CyberSafe Kids showing that of 8 to 12-year-olds, 75% are on YouTube, 41% are on WhatsApp, 40% on Roblox, 36% on Snapchat, 33% on TikTok. So they really are active online, and the worry obviously is what they're saying.
Yes, absolutely. That is the worry, and I guess while it is, you know, a great day for safety in terms of verifying the age of, well, requiring the age of the verification of the age of children, it's one half of the challenge, because the other half of the challenge is knowing, well, once you've verified their age, how do you make sure that what they're accessing then is actually age appropriate, and that's really challenging.
OK, we'll get on to that in a minute, but just to stay with the age verification aspect of it first, are there ways of doing that appropriately? Because as you say, I mean, you can tick a box saying I'm over 18, but there's no way of proving that.
Yeah, so here what's required is that there are robust and privacy-preserving mechanisms for verifying the age of users, particularly children. Now, there are a variety of techniques for doing that, but I suppose, first of all, the paper-based way of doing it, which I think will cause major concern to privacy advocates, including myself, are the use of passports and things like that. But there are other mechanisms. I think we're all used to verifying our identity using our phones for banking, for example, two-factor authentication. So I think the obvious way to start exploring this, you know, if you're a Meta or an X, is to look at using the device that the child uses to get online as the way of verifying how old they are. And so that way you really leak very, very little, if any, information about the user, apart from the fact that they are underage. But of course they're locked to that device, just like you and I are locked to a particular device when we access our bank accounts.
But how would you use the device? So say it's a phone or a tablet or a PC. How would you use that device to prove the age of the user?
So, for example, one can install an app, an age verifier, in the same way as many people are verifying their identity to their employers, for example, that I am the person who should access that email account or that company internet account, that this device, that this handset is the handset used by this particular person. And so when they use their local facial recognition to unlock their phone, for example, that locally held biometric is how they can verify that, yes, it is me, this is my phone, and now I should be able to access my service without any interruption at all. The fact that you're doing it through that particular handset is sufficient to identify you. Now, of course, how do you set that up? There are many ways in which you can set that up. So, for example, when the phone is bought to begin with, the date of birth of the person could be associated with the phone. Parents or guardians or others could lock a particular device to a particular user, and then that allows them to verify in a very ordinary way that I am the person who can access that app. And so obviously the services have to change how their apps work, but in the same way as you do that every day with two-factor authentication, that kind of age verification could be built.
Okay.
So it's technically possible, very, very technically possible.
Okay. The other aspect, as you mentioned earlier, is the content that people are accessing. And there is a problem that, you know, the recommender algorithms aren't covered by this particular piece of legislation.
Yeah. Yeah, so the regulation that's coming into play doesn't deal with recommender systems. Those will be regulated under the Digital Services Act. Now, viewers might wonder, well, what does that really mean? Well, the content that's served up to you when you use an online service, the fact that a news story or a particular item comes up on your feed, the software behind that, the algorithm behind that is a recommender system, and so obviously it's important that the way in which content is served to you is age appropriate or whatever. And so this particular regulation that's been introduced, that's coming into full effect today, doesn't address that, but those recommender systems are being dealt with separately under the European Union's Digital Services Act. So there is a separation of power there, which I think is fine. I think that's not a criticism of our online safety code. I think the online safety code is really going in the right direction. So I think it's a fantastic day and a great development.
Okay, I suppose it would certainly be in the interest of the platforms to play ball with this, because fines of up to €20 million or 10% of turnover, whichever is higher, they need to be taken this seriously.
Absolutely, need to be taken very, very seriously. And not only are the fines significant, but I think public opinion really requires that these places are safe environments for our children, because our children spend so much time on them. So I think quite apart from the financial aspect, just the moral aspect should be enough to really drive them forward. But of course, as you say, the fines and the penalties are very toothy indeed in this one. So I think absolutely they need to take it very, very seriously. And of course, this is for every single incidence of a violation. And if something happens, the thing about the internet is that if a harm is perpetrated on one child, it can very, very quickly, almost instantaneously, harm hundreds of thousands, if not millions of children simultaneously. And so these fines can multiply almost instantaneously. So we're talking about significant fines just for one breach. And of course, the harm can be felt by hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people simultaneously. So it really is something that they need to take seriously.
OK, well, we shall no doubt come back to you to see how it's working out. Professor Barry O'Sullivan of UCC, thank you.